and I'm watching policy being made here in the UK and in London based on test results, test results, test results. And we're not seeing the deaths. So like you said, the more they push these numbers on you, it's even clearer how not deadly this disease is, because you just have to do the fractions. But yet it's still being pushed, and people are so much in fear, and we've been locked down before, that people now comply to the lockdown. When, as I mentioned today on one of my videos earlier today, the lockdown was never intended or sold to us as a method of slowing the virus. It was only to protect our medical, our medical system. So why are we locking down again? Again, they just keep pushing testing. So it's one of the many things that's frustrating. And like you said, if you can't even see that, it's hard to have much of a further conversation with anyone. But again, it's pushed every day in our media. It's pushed by our government every day. And fear is real. And most populations comply with governments. They listen to the mainstream media and they walk along. And then when they vilify anyone that goes against it, there's our current situation. Right. So look, I know that you were privy to an email from the Canadian government, and I thought maybe we could dive into some of the things you learned, because it was quite fascinating to see, I guess, what you might call an agenda of what might be coming down the line. And I thought there was some really interesting revelations that you had there, and I thought might be worth diving into some of those.
Yeah, so before we do that, Brian, there's just one last thing I want to point out based upon the previous topic we were talking about. When people have, you said that beyond that point, if a person isn't even able to see what's going on, then there's no point in having a further discussion. And I agree with that. But I would challenge everyone that is awake to ask these two questions of the people that are still asleep. Because many of these people, I think it's just too uncomfortable. That cognitive dissonance factor is just too uncomfortable for them to face. They don't want to open up this and say, well, if I'm wrong about this, then is it possible that I'm wrong about everything else that I've believed? And that's just too disruptive for their thought process. They can't believe it. I mean, some people could actually, it's almost like a self-destructive thing. So the question that could be asked to allow that person that's still asleep to eventually awaken is, one, if this is real, where are all the dead bodies of all the homeless people on the planet? Every society has homeless people. Where are these bodies that are littering? That's the first question. Second question is, who do you know personally that has died of COVID? And I've actually used this before, and a couple of people start talking about, well, I know this person, that person. And I'm like, no, who do you know personally, yourself? Well, whenever they come up with the people, they'll say my grandmother, my grandfather, my this and that. But then when you ask them, well, where were they when they died? Well, they were in hospice. How long were they in hospice? Well, for 7 years. They would have died anyway. It has nothing to do with COVID. So my question is, how many people do you know directly that didn't have a comorbidity, that weren't in the hospital, that weren't already sick, that died of COVID? And invariably, if a person's going to be honest, virtually nobody knows anybody that died of COVID. Now, I personally know 2 people that died of COVID. That's what the death certificate says, except that one killed himself, but they ruled it as COVID.
Wow.
This is not an exaggeration, but they ruled it as COVID. And another one that had an 80% occlusion of his LAD, had, documented cardiac history. I knew his history. He discussed it with me. He owns a couple of restaurants in North Carolina. He died of a heart attack, and he was labeled as COVID-19 death. So if you take those deaths out, and you take out all the people that were already in a long-term healthcare facility that didn't have any of the comorbidity, and you eliminate that, I want to know, and this is a question people should ask, who do you know that actually died of COVID, that didn't have a comorbidity, that wasn't already sick from something else, that you know personally? And if people just ask those 2 questions, and it's like, yeah, well, I mean, if this thing is so bad that it shut down the whole world, and people are, what about the people that are dying of hunger that dwarf the number of supposedly of COVID? What about the people that have committed suicide because they don't know how they're going to feed their families? What about the number of people that have experienced domestic violence? right? What about the number of people that have died because they were afraid going to the hospital, they would catch COVID-19, so they didn't go to the hospital and ended up dying of issues that could have been corrected by the hospital had they been able to go? Or what about the people that died because they didn't want to go to an overtaxed medical facility because they felt, well, I'm not as bad off, so I'll just stay at home, and then ended up dying? What about all those deaths? You add all those deaths up, it's like for every one person that supposedly died of COVID, you've got 100 that have died from all these other issues that are actually COVID induced, but have nothing to do with COVID. It's because of the idiocy that's been put out there.
Yeah.
Those deaths are not being looked at. And that's where we have to, as a society, start looking. Otherwise, we're just allowing the annihilation of our own society.
So Jim Rickards has just recorded a video that's not available to anyone in the public, and he's going to be talking about how this upcoming recession is going to be fast, it's going to be bloody, it's going to be nasty. But at the same time, he's going to show you how you can position yourself to profit from all of this chaos. Now, we've made this video only available to our viewers. Go to londonreal.tv/Jim, watch that immediately. I can't say enough good things about Jim Rickards. He understands the global economic system better than any guest I've ever had on London Real. His predictions are almost uncannily true, and you can learn how to profit from his vision, from his expertise, and his understanding of economics. So go to londonreal.tv/Jim or click the link below. It's an excellent, excellent look on what's going to happen in the future and how you can position yourself to profit from that. Jim is one of the best in the business, one of my favorite guests on London Real. And he's very, very good at predicting the future and showing us all to profit from it. So click the link, and I hope you enjoy. Hey, do you want to profit from crypto? Then join my DeFi Academy. The Crypto DeFi Academy will help you create generational wealth. But don't take my word for it. Listen to my students.
When I first got into crypto, I remember thinking to myself, I need to learn more. Brian Rose, learning crypto, learning DeFi, gotta do it.
I am so grateful that I jumped in and did this. I had to break through some limiting beliefs that I can do this, that I can afford this, that I can be in this.
It challenges the things that are deeply rooted within us.
Joining DeFi Academy has been one of the best decisions I have made on my blockchain journey.
This course was a life changer, a game changer, a huge eye-opener, coming from knowing practically nothing at the speed of the learning over 4 weeks. Was just fantastic.
The information you provided in this class was invaluable.
I feel far more confident in my next steps.
You took complex concepts and made them easier to understand.
What's different than so many other ones is it just doesn't tell you what to do. It actually makes you do it.
This is for people who are serious about becoming traders. This is the way it should be done.
I realized from this learning experience again that it is not about what you learn, but about who you learn it from.
The energy was insane. I've never experienced such incredible energy on a live call. Brian Rose, you are a legend, my friend.
It's the only thing in the market where you can get all information and learn everything what you need to know.
Everything is so clear and so well done, and I am just forever grateful for this program.
It made me feel so much more confident about crypto than I did before.
I did not anticipate how passionate I was going to become about it.
It's also been like a big learning experience for me, not just in the crypto space, but just an overall balance of life.
What I've learned is, how to take ownership, of my life in a way that I really hadn't before.
Yeah, you can't put a price on that, really.
I would recommend it to anybody, top notch.
Excellence does not come cheap. So if you want excellence, you gotta pay for it, but it's so worth it.
Pull the trigger. That's what this course is about.
You're not going to regret it, really. It's amazing.
Thank you, Brian and team.
So what are you waiting for? Crypto is happening now. Click the link below, submit your application, and let me mentor you on how to create generational wealth and build the decentralized financial infrastructure of the future.